Mother died today. Or maybe yesterday, I don't know.
Merceau, the protagonist of The Stranger, receives a telegram informing him of his mother's death. He travels to Marengo, where she lived in an old age home, to attend her funeral. The funeral procession is a taxing experience for him, as he is exposed to the sweltering heat and oppressive sunlight. He is indifferent to his mother's death, which foreshadows his character's emotional detachment throughout the novel.
That evening, Marie came by to see me and asked me if I wanted to marry her. I said it didn't make any difference to me and that we could if she wanted to.
After the funeral, Merceau returns to Algiers and resumes his daily life. He starts a romantic relationship with Marie, a former colleague. Despite their physical intimacy, Merceau remains emotionally distant, treating her as a source of pleasure rather than as a genuine partner.
I had only a little time left, and I didn't want to waste it on God.
Merceau befriends Raymond, a neighbor with a violent reputation. Raymond is involved in a tumultuous relationship with his mistress, who he suspects of cheating on him. He asks Merceau to help him draft a letter to the mistress, designed to provoke her into an angry confrontation.
It occurred to me that anyway one more Sunday was over, that Maman was buried now, that I was going back to work, and that, really, nothing had changed.
Raymond's plan works, and he ends up beating his mistress after the confrontation. This incident escalates into a conflict between Raymond and the mistress' brother, an Arab man. The Arab and his friend begin to follow Raymond and Merceau to the beach, where a tense and threatening encounter takes place.
I knew that I had shattered the harmony of the day, the exceptional silence of a beach where it'd been happy. Then I fired 4 more times at the motionless body where the bullets lodged without leaving a trace.
After the initial confrontation, Merceau returns to the beach alone and encounters the Arab man again. Overcome by the oppressive heat and sunlight, he impulsively shoots the Arab, killing him. This violent act marks a turning point in the novel, as Merceau's emotional detachment now leads to tragic consequences.
Nothing mattered, and I knew why. So did he. Throughout the whole absurd life I'd lived, a dark wind had been rising toward me from somewhere deep in my future, across years that were still to come, and as it passed, this wind leveled whatever was offered to me at the time.
Merceau is arrested and interrogated for the murder of the Arab. He remains indifferent to the questions posed by the examining magistrate, confessing to the murder without displaying any remorse or motivation for his actions.
The fact that the days were all the same meant that one of them was just like the others and that they were all like the one I was now living.
Merceau's court-appointed lawyer devises a defense strategy that paints him as a victim of circumstances. The lawyer argues that Merceau's actions were a result of the heat and sunlight, rather than any malicious intent.
The truth is that every intelligent man, as you know, dreams of being a gangster and of ruling over society by force alone.
The trial begins, with the prosecutor building a case against Merceau based on his emotional detachment and indifference. Witnesses, including Marie and the old age home director, testify to his seemingly callous behavior, particularly regarding his mother's death.
I felt in myself a swelling of indignation and a tense, clamorous anguish.
As the trial progresses, Merceau becomes increasingly frustrated with the way his character is being portrayed. He eventually lashes out, declaring that the events of his life are meaningless and that everyone is equally guilty of living without purpose.
In a way, they seem to be arguing the case as if it had nothing to do with me.
The jury finds Merceau guilty of premeditated murder and sentences him to death by guillotine. Despite the severity of the sentence, Merceau remains indifferent, accepting his fate with a sense of detachment.
However, I was sure about me, about everything, surer than he could ever be, sure of my life and sure of the death I had waiting for me.
While awaiting his execution, Merceau is imprisoned. He initially struggles to adapt to his new surroundings, experiencing feelings of isolation and confinement.
I had lived my life one way and I could just as well have lived it another.
During his time in prison, Meursault begins to reflect on his life and actions, gradually coming to terms with his indifference and the meaninglessness of existence.
I thought about how Marie had wanted us to be married and that now it could never happen.
Marie visits Meursault in prison for the last time, but their conversation is strained, and they are unable to connect emotionally. Meursault recognizes that his detachment has driven them apart, and Marie eventually stops visiting him.
I had nothing to do with God, and that in any case I'd always have time to think about it.
A chaplain visits Meursault in his cell, attempting to guide him towards repentance and faith in God. Meursault, however, remains steadfast in his disbelief and ultimately rejects the chaplain's efforts, asserting his own worldview.
I opened myself to the gentle indifference of the world.
As he faces his impending execution, Meursault experiences a profound epiphany. He embraces the meaninglessness of life and the absurdity of existence, realizing that death is inevitable for everyone, and that life has no inherent purpose.
Since we're all going to die, it's obvious that when and how don't matter.
Meursault fully accepts the absurd nature of life and finds a sense of peace in his newfound understanding. He acknowledges that his own death is no more significant than anyone else's, and that he is not unique in his suffering.
Man is the only creature who refuses to be what he is.
Throughout The Stranger, Albert Camus explores existentialist themes, particularly the idea of the absurd. Meursault's emotional detachment and indifference are manifestations of this philosophy, which posits that life is inherently meaningless, and individuals must create their own meaning through their actions and choices.
The more one judges, the less one loves.
The novel also examines the role of societal expectations and judgments in shaping one's behavior and perception of the world. Meursault's indifference and detachment are condemned by society, leading to his trial and conviction.
The sun was the same as it had been the day it buried Maman, and like then, my forehead especially was hurting me, all the veins in it throbbing under the skin.
Camus uses the oppressive heat and sunlight throughout the novel as symbols of existential discomfort and tension. The natural environment, particularly the heat on the day of the murder, influences Meursault's actions and serves as a catalyst for his eventual confrontation with the absurd.
You will never be happy if you continue to search for what happiness consists of. You will never live if you are looking for the meaning of life.
The Stranger is considered a seminal work of existential literature, as it challenges conventional notions of morality, purpose, and the human experience. Its exploration of the absurd and the human struggle to find meaning in an indifferent universe continues to resonate with readers and remains relevant today. The novel has had a lasting impact on philosophy, literature, and popular culture, and is still widely studied and analyzed by scholars and readers alike.